So hopefully this topic does not stir up any trouble in anybody's household. This is solely just for me and my conversation, open conversation on the podcast. But I discovered recently that there is a thing, well, I've known of a situationship, but I didn't know that it was such a real thing until I guess I started dating more. And, because it just felt like I thought it was like cheating or something like that. But I don't know if necessarily every situationship is solely that because some people have passes, some people free to do what they want, some people just it's a lot. It's a lot. But I did want to talk about it because I feel like now that I think about it, was I in a lot of situationships because there's been times where I've dated someone and I didn't know they were with somebody until I found out they were. So it's very hard to recover and bounce back from things like that. But I mean, it is a real thing. And does it really feel like it's the normal now? Because there are people who seek out for ships just to kind of fulfill something that they're missing. And that's a lot of conversations that should happen in the relationships if they're actually acting outside the relationships. But I mean, everybody, again, life is different. But for me, I have lots of experiences of this, so I decided to do a topic on it because I learned, especially when people don't want to, I guess, address something that they're facing and maybe sexual issues that they might be battling. And I truly feel like that's never my story to tell. I've dated people who are secretly, undercover, or they may be with somebody, or whatever the case might be. Even if I find out that they're with somebody, or if they don't, like, I don't feel like that's my story to tell. So I just think that a part of a situationship can evolve so many different levels of relationships that are not typical relationships. So I feel like since I'm going to be dating a lot more, I definitely want to kind of discuss a situationship because I don't really know if that's something that I'm here for. I don't know what part of my life would I be unless I'm single. Now, being single in a situationship is really honestly okay because there's no set titles. It's just kind of like we know where we stand, we got this emotional, physical bond, and that's fine with us. Everything else, y'all can keep. As long as you both are on the same page, the same level, those situationships are maybe healthy because it's getting you through a certain point in your life. It's seeing you in another light where you can appreciate your relationship, whatever it might be. And I'm not here to judge anybody's life. So I'm just speaking in facts of what I know and what I've been through. So it's a lot to it. So let's do it. There's a lot of situationships that I feel that are very important to discuss. So let's get into it. The only thing is trying to make sure I know the difference between dating and a situationship because I feel like if I'm dating, I'm looking for something. I want to find a certain relationship, a long term relationship, and in situationships, it's just kind of somebody to be there with you, somebody to hang out with, someone that's when you're free, I'm free. We're together. We got our time. But there's really no set title, and there's really, honestly, no growth in that other than friendship. So it's really me trying to remember that I have to remember if I'm going to go date, I really have to be in it to look for something and make sure that I'm only pursuing one person. But in a situationship, it also has to be some type of clarity and a conversation about where we stand and the boundaries because it's not great when you think you're in a situation and somebody's catching bigger feelings than the other one, and then it becomes a bigger problem. So I still feel that a lot of relationships will always have some sort of emotion tied to it, no matter what we say. But I feel like always knowing the difference between if you're in a situationship or you're just dating is kind of important because, you don't want to mislead the situation or you don't want to be misled. Again, just to clarify, I am not trying to call nobody out. I can care less, truthfully, what people do with their own life. People have the right to experience the world any way they see it. They have the right to test the waters or keep their relationships undercover or wherever they want them. But there is a fine line between playing with someone's emotions and just wanting to have fun. Like, that needs to be known from the jump from both parties. Should definitely understand what type of relationship that you both are in. I feel that the reason that most situationships end up in a bad or in situations where there are problems is because one person isn't being honest about what the situation is supposed to truly be. I feel that a lot of people live secret lives and they're just hiding behind what they want. And it ends up being a very dangerous situation for lots of people because, there are people who are in situationships that end up being married and they're just stepping out on who they're with because they're looking for a void they need to fix. And whatever the problem they're having internally is not the third party's problem. But it does become that because now there's a third person involved who probably doesn't know that this person is involved, or they do know and they choose to continue with the relationship. But it's a point of there's three people in one relationship, and somebody is either lying, somebody's being deceived, and somebody is unaware. So there's all these different roles that happen. So when you don't clarify what the situation is in your relationships, then yeah, there are gray areas. So I've learned to be honest about what I want and who I'm with because I don't have anything to hide. I don't want to be with anybody that's taken. I don't want to be with anybody that doesn't want me. So if we are in a situationship and it's just something for us to pass through time and we're both okay with hanging out, sleeping together, or whatever it might be that we've cleared that's okay for us and our thing, then there shouldn't be any problems because nobody's opinion about that situation in our situationship should matter. But if you are coming to a situationship and you're not clear on things and you're bringing me into situations where you're hiding from something, then that's a problem because that's something that you weren't honest with up front, and that's honestly the reason why you might be in the situation you're in anyway. Most of the time, I see people make assumptions all the time, all that they want, but nothing is final or confirmed until you yourself have seen something happen or you knowing somebody's doing something. So if you know that there's someone who's undercover, maybe in a situationship, it's not your place to expose them, period. I know that there's plenty of codes and I should say this, I should say that, but it's the thing of you don't know what you're talking about, for one. B, you may have the situation wrong. Or four, maybe everybody is very aware of the situation. So I just felt that when there's a lot of lines that can be crossed in a situationship because it's not a set title, and people are very wanting to know what's going on. They would like to be able to function better if they can classify what you're doing, what's happening in your life, who you're dating. If they see you with one person too much, they're going to always ask, oh my God, dang, what's up with you and such, y'all together? And you're like, man, can't even explain that because really now it feels like it's a secret, when really it's just me and this person and we got our thing and that's just what it is. But people are so nosy. People are so pressed and feel so entitled to know everything about you and to feel like what's going on with you and who you're doing and who you're talking to really is a part of what's going on in their daily lives. So they pressure you to question what you're doing. And that sometimes really makes it seem a little dirty. It makes it seem like, am I talking to somebody that's in a relationship? Is this wrong? Like, because now they got you triggered in things of thinking deeper than what it is. So as long as you know what you're signing up for, as long as you know what comes with that type of situation, because again, everybody won't understand that. To a lot of people, it's stupid. To a lot of people, they think it's just a cop-out. So you in a world of people who have so many opinions, that you just have to be sure that you want to do something, believe it, and sit in it and go with it, because people are going to judge you whether you're in any situation, whether you're married with somebody, whether you're gay or straight. They're going to judge you because that's just what people do. People live their lives sometimes to live through other people. So if something's wrong with you, they somehow feel like it's happening to them. So being comfortable in situationships is something that I feel you really have to truly sit in and stand down on, because it really shouldn't be too much behind that. It's what it is. It's just something that's happening. It's not too serious. There's nothing to hide. There's nothing going on. So really just don't put too much intention on it. If it becomes too much, let it go, back off, and move on to something else, because you don't owe that relationship anything. When you don't have a title, there is nothing you owe to that relationship other than what you're giving it. So that's a great part of the situationship, because a lot of times you don't get your feelings too deep in. Your heart is not in it, so the heartbreak may not happen. So being able to walk away from those situationships should be so easy, because if you're truly in it for why you're in it, then anything that ends up being too sticky is too hot. There is something going on in something relationship otherwise that's causing some tension that's becoming too personal. You should be able to easily just walk away from that. But if you don't, and you really feel like you have ties and obligated to that person, then you may have caught feelings, and that's a problem that you should have been able to restrain, because you have to commit to wanting that situationship versus being in a relationship. Which brings me into how a situationship can easily become a toxic situationship, because you have formed too many expectations in something that should be very minor and very small in your life. So if there are situations where you're jealous because the person you're in a situationship is talking to other people, then you should be prepared to have that tension from that person, because if that guy or that girl is in a situationship with you and you guys have no title and you guys can date who you want to date, why would anybody have a problem with the other person texting other people? Because that is not part of your relationship. So you have to, again, stop asking for certain things, and then when you're getting it, you're wanting to add more to it later. It's not a contract. It's not a marriage. You are not expected to do what you expect them to do. You just easily cut that one off and move on. If you thought you wanted to be in a situationship and you thought that, oh, I can handle this person talking to somebody else, or I can handle this person texting somebody else, and then you realize you can't, you need to leave that, because he or she is not expected to answer to you, because you guys said that that's not a part of the relationship. So that's just things that, when I said be honest about if you really want to be in a situationship, because it can become toxic, because now you got another relationship that you're fighting with somebody when really there is no problem. It's just one-sided. That's the type of thing that you have to be mindful of, because things aren't really what they are. And if you really are looking to be tied to somebody and to be having one person for yourself, then you need to step out the situationship and jump in the world of being in a relationship. I think the advantages is, if you are single and in a situationship, I think that you should really take a real advantage of that, because you at that moment can use that situationship for getting better in the bedroom sexually, or how to communicate, or how to show up, or anything that you've probably felt like in your last relationships were lacking on your side, the situationship allows you that. It allows you the freedom to make mistakes. It allows you to be seen in a light because you're not trying to impress this person, because you guys are there for what it is and you show up how you are. So it's, to me, it's a good thing to really be in a situationship if you're single, because it allows you the freedom to still be with someone and have the companionship, but also still give you the freedom to have your own space and do whatever it is you need to do to eventually work towards whatever relationship you want later on in life. So I guess it's just a perspective thing about how you look at it and how you use a situationship, because I think just people, again, thinking they know what your relationship might be with a person because how they perceive you and watch you day to day with a certain person still does not determine a situationship. A situationship is between two people who have an understanding of what their roles are together. So it's nobody else's business. Again, it's not like they're in a marriage or committed, so there's nothing to go tell. So I feel like people should just, again, let things be for other folks and worry about themselves, because sometimes situationships are really what they are. And a lot of times you confuse that with cheating, and that's a whole different thing. It's a whole different topic I can get on. But again, I think people have to be adults and mindful of people's lifestyles and what they choose to do with themselves, and respect their process. And if you don't respect it or like how someone's living their life, then you have the freedom to exit their life. Simple as that. And before I wrap this up, when I'm talking about situationships, I am not encouraging cheating. If you got me thinking that I am encouraging cheating by this video, you ain't pay attention to a word I said, because it ain't got nothing to do with cheating. I said a situationship is between two parties who are not tied to a relationship and have come to common ground on what their relationship is when they're together. So don't be trying to get me in no situationship that I don't want to be in.